Night has fallen, and the world outside has finally grown quiet. You lie here, in the stillness of your room, yet there is a subtle, lingering friction within you. It is a feeling you cannot quite name, a sense that despite all you know about yourself, there is a guest in your own house that you have never formally met. We often believe we are the masters of our own minds, that our conscious thoughts are the total sum of who we are. But in the quiet hours, the boundaries of the self begin to blur. You feel an unarticulated tension, a weight that isn't physical, as if something, or someone, is standing just behind the curtain of your awareness. It is the first whisper of the unconscious, reminding you that your soul is far vaster and deeper than the person you pretend to be during the day. Carl Jung once suggested that we do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. This darkness is not evil, it is simply the unlit territory of your own heart. For years, you have carefully constructed a version of yourself for the world to see, the persona. This is the mask of the good worker, the kind friend, the rational adult. But every mask casts a shadow. For every virtue you claim, there is a corresponding impulse you have tucked away, hidden in the cellar of the mind. As you relax now, allow yourself to acknowledge that cellar. You don't need to open the door yet, just recognize that it is there, breathing in rhythm with you. Think of the emotions you have labeled as unacceptable. The sudden flash of envy when a peer succeeds. The cold spike of resentment towards someone you love. The secret, selfish desires that feel incompatible with your moral compass. We spend a lifetime pushing these fragments away, shoving them into the peripheral vision of our souls. We tell ourselves, that isn't me. But where do these feelings go? They do not vanish, they accumulate. They gather in the corners of your psyche, forming a second, hidden personality, the shadow. It is the repository of everything you have judged, repressed, or denied. Tonight, the shadow is merely asking for a seat at the table of your awareness. There is a profound exhaustion in the act of repression. It takes an immense amount of psychic energy to keep the shadow at bay. You are like a person trying to keep a dozen beach balls underwater at once. The moment you relax, they begin to pop to the surface. Your overthinking, your sudden bouts of unexplained sadness, and your late-night anxieties are often just the result of this fatigue. The shadow isn't trying to hurt you, it is trying to return to you. It wants to be integrated, to be seen, and to be understood. As you drift closer to sleep, imagine letting go of the struggle. Imagine letting those beach balls rise, one by one, into the calm air of your acceptance. We avoid the shadow because we fear it as a monster. We believe that if we look at our hidden anger or our secret shames, they will consume us. But Jung observed that the shadow only becomes monstrous when it is ignored. When it is denied, it acts out through projections and self-sabotage. But when it is faced with a calm and compassionate gaze, it begins to transform. It is not a demon, it is a long-lost twin who has been locked in the dark for too long. In this state of relaxation, you are safe. There is no judgment here. There is only the vast, quiet space of the observer. You are the sky, and your shadow is merely a cloud passing through the night. The journey into the unconscious is not a descent into a pit, but a walk through an ancient, unmapped forest. As you lie here, feel the ground of your being beneath you. It is firm and supportive. You are ready to explore the hidden paths. The discomfort you felt at the beginning of this hour is the key turning in the lock. It is the invitation to wholeness. To be whole is not to be perfect. To be whole is to contain both the light and the dark, the sun and the moon, the persona and the shadow. You are beginning to realize that the stranger in the room is actually a part of yourself that has been waiting for you to come home. Sleep is the natural bridge to the shadow's realm. In dreams, the barriers of the ego fall away, and the unconscious speaks in the language of symbols. Tonight, as you prepare to cross that bridge, set the intention to be a peaceful witness. You don't need to solve the mystery of your life tonight, you only need to be willing to sit with it. Feel the weight of your body sinking deeper into the mattress, letting go of the day self and its rigid definitions. You are becoming fluid. You are becoming the ocean. And in the depths of that ocean, the shadow is waiting, not as a threat, but as a treasure buried in the sand, waiting for the tide to turn. Before we can truly meet the shadow, we must understand the structure that keeps it hidden. Throughout your life, you have been a builder, meticulously laying bricks to create the persona. The word itself comes from the Latin for mask, the terracotta face that ancient actors wore to project a specific character to the furthest row of the theater. You have a mask for your family, a mask for your career, and a mask for the person you see in the mirror. This is not a hollow deception, it is a necessary social tool. But tonight, as you lie in the dark, you might feel the weight of that clay. You might feel how much effort it takes to keep the mask pressed against your skin, hiding the complexities that the world might find inconvenient or untidy. The persona is the ideal version of you. It is the person who is always patient, the person who is always certain, the one who never feels petty or afraid. It is a masterpiece of curation. But for every trait we put on display, we must push its opposite into the basement. If the persona is the giver, the shadow becomes the taker. If the persona is the strong one, the shadow becomes the vulnerable child. We spend so much time identifying with the mask that we begin to believe the basement doesn't exist. Yet, in this quiet hour, the mask begins to loosen. The glue of social expectation is dissolving in the stillness. You are becoming more than your reputation. Listen to the silence of the room. In this space, you don't have to be someone. There is no one here to impress, no one to judge your thoughts, and no one to demand a specific version of your personality. The persona is a suit of armor that we wear into the battle of daily life, but armor is heavy, and it offers no warmth. As you breathe, feel yourself unbuckling the straps. Feel the heavy plates of being good and being capable falling away. Beneath the armor, there is a soft, breathing core that has been restricted for too long. This core doesn't care about your resume or your social standing. It only knows the truth of the moment. We often confuse our persona with our soul. We think that if we lose the mask, we lose ourselves. This is why the idea of the shadow is so frightening. It feels like a threat to our very existence. But Jung reminds us that the mask is just a costume. When the actor leaves the stage and removes the mask, he doesn't disappear, he becomes more real. Tonight, you are leaving the stage. The play is over. The audience has gone home. You are allowed to be unformed. You are allowed to be the darkness that exists behind the light. There is a profound freedom in realizing that you are the one who wears the mask, not the mask itself. As you settle deeper into rest, notice the parts of yourself that feel homeless. These are the impulses that didn't fit into the persona's design. Perhaps it is a creative fire that was too chaotic for your professional life, or a deep sadness that was too inconvenient for your family's happiness. These fragments have been living in exile, wandering the outskirts of your consciousness. They are the unlived life within you. The shadow is not just made of the bad, it is often made of the too good or too powerful traits we were afraid to claim. Tonight, we are opening the gates. We are telling these exiled parts that the borders are open. The more we lean into the persona, the more the shadow grows in power. It is a simple law of psychic gravity. The more perfect we try to be, the more imperfect our dreams become. The more we suppress our anger, the more it leaks out in passive-aggressive whispers or sudden, unexplainable fatigue. By acknowledging the mask tonight, you are taking the first step toward reclaiming your energy. You are saying, I am more than what they see. You are the light on the stage, the shadow in the wings, and the silence in the theater. You are the whole, not the part. Let your breathing be the anchor that keeps you steady as the persona fades. With every exhale, imagine the mask turning to dust and being blown away by a cool night breeze. You are returning to a state of original, undivided being. The room is dark, the world is quiet, and the you that you project to the world is currently asleep. What remains is the observer, the one who is neither light nor dark, but the space that holds both. You are safe. You are drifting. You are becoming the depth that the mask could never contain. When we refuse to look at the shadow within, it does not simply vanish. It seeks a mirror. Like a film projector casting an image onto a blank screen, our psyche casts our unacknowledged traits onto the people around us. This is the phenomenon of projection. If there is someone in your life whose presence causes an immediate, visceral reaction, someone whose flaws irritate you beyond all reason, you may be looking into a psychological mirror. The qualities you despise in them are often the very qualities you have forbidden in yourself. Tonight, as the world grows still, we stop looking at the others and begin to look at the reflection. We ask, what is this irritation trying to tell me about my own hidden heart? Projection is the mind's way of protecting the persona. It is much easier to judge the selfishness of a stranger than to admit the selfish impulses within our own chest. It is easier to be outraged by another's arrogance than to sit with our own secret need for validation. But this protection comes at a high price. It makes us victims of the world outside. We become reactive, tethered to the behavior of others, constantly triggered by ghosts of our own making. As you lie here, imagine those tethers dissolving. You are reclaiming the power you gave away. You are realizing that the monster across the room was just your own shadow, asking to be brought home. Consider the gold in the shadow. Projection is not only about our negative traits. Sometimes, we project our greatness, our courage, or our untapped creativity onto heroes and idols because we are too afraid to carry that light ourselves. We think they are the brilliant ones, the brave ones, while we remain small. But you cannot recognize a quality in another unless the seed of it already exists within you. Your admiration is a map to your own potential. The beauty you see in the world is a reflection of the beauty you have repressed. Tonight, we begin the quiet work of bringing that gold back into the center of your own being. Let the faces of those you have judged or idolized drift through your mind like smoke. Don't cling to them, don't analyze the history of the conflict. Just observe the emotional charge they carry. Notice how that charge feels in your body, a tightness in the throat, a weight in the chest. This physical sensation is the hook where the projection hangs. As you breathe deeply and slowly, imagine yourself unhooking these images. You are letting the people in your life be just people, flawed, complex, and separate from you. And you are allowing yourself to be the vessel for all the intensity you once saw in them. You believe that everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. This understanding is a sanctuary. It turns the world from a battlefield into a laboratory of the soul. When you stop projecting, you stop being a passenger in your own life. You become the alchemist. You begin to see that the enemy was a messenger, and the hero was a reminder. The intensity of your external world begins to quiet down because you are finally doing the work where it matters, within. The mirror is no longer a source of fear, it is a source of truth. As you descend further into relaxation, feel the space between you and the world growing. You are retracting your projections like a fisherman pulling in his nets at the end of a long day. The nets are heavy with the things you thought belonged to others, but as they come closer, you see they are made of your own substance. There is a deep, settling peace in this reclamation. You are becoming a closed circle, a self-contained universe. The them and they are fading away, leaving only the I in the vast, quiet dark. The mirror is now clear. The projections have vanished. What remains is the raw, honest landscape of your unconscious. It is a place of deep shadows, yes, but it is also the place where your truest self resides, untouched by the opinions or actions of others. You are safe here. You are whole. You are ready to let go of the judgmental mind and fall into the perceiving heart. The world is at rest, and you are returning to the source. Sleep now, and let the mirror of the soul show you the wonders that lie in the dark. We often think of our repressed traits as being gone, as if by locking them in the basement of the psyche, they have ceased to exist. But energy cannot be destroyed, it can only be transformed or buried. In the silence of the night, we can almost hear the low hum of these buried parts. Jung described the shadow as having a certain hunger, a primal drive to be recognized and fed. When we deny our natural appetites for power, for pleasure, for anger, or even for deep rest, these impulses do not starve. Instead, they grow lean and desperate. They wait for the moments when our conscious guard is down, in a slip of the tongue, a sudden burst of temper, or the strange, vivid imagery of our dreams, to demand their due. This hunger is not a sign of your brokenness, it is a sign of your vitality. Your shadow contains the primitive parts of you, the instincts that allowed your ancestors to survive. When you repress your anger, you also repress your ability to set boundaries. When you repress your desire, you also repress your passion for life itself. The shadow hunger is actually a call for nourishment. You have been feeding your persona a diet of shoulds and musts, while your deeper self has been starving for authenticity. Tonight, Notice the areas of your life where you feel a sense of hollowness. That void is the place where the shadow is waiting to be fed. Consider the parts of yourself you have called too much. Too loud, too sensitive, too ambitious, too dark. To fit into the narrow halls of your social world, you have had to prune yourself like a bonsai tree, cutting away the branches that grew too wildly. But those branches were where your fruit was meant to grow. The hunger you feel is the ghost of those missing limbs. As you breathe into the stillness, imagine those pruned branches beginning to grow back in the dark. In the privacy of this night, you are allowed to be too much. You are allowed to have vast, uncurated spaces within you. Jung taught that the shadow is 90% pure gold. Because it contains everything the ego has rejected, it is the reservoir of your untapped creativity and your rawest power. The hunger is merely the desire of that gold to be brought into the light. When you stop fearing the hunger and start listening to it, you find that it isn't trying to consume you, it's trying to fuel you. An anger recognized can become the courage to change your life. A grief acknowledged can become the depth of your compassion. Tonight, we are not looking for monsters, we are looking for the fuel we left behind in the dark. As your body becomes heavy and relaxed, the watchman of the ego is finally getting sleepy. This is the time when the hunger can be safely addressed. You don't need to act on your impulses, you only need to give them a voice. Imagine sitting across from your shadow in a quiet, candlelit room. Offer it a place to rest. Ask it, what have you been starving for? Listen for the answer, not in words, but in the shifts of your internal climate. A sense of relief, a sudden warmth, a deepening of the breath. To feed the shadow is simply to say, I see you, and you belong to me. The tension of repression is like a tightly wound spring. As you acknowledge the hunger of the shadow, the spring begins to unwind. You are no longer holding yourself together with the same rigid force. You are becoming softer, more integrated, more whole. The shadow's hunger is satisfied by the simple act of your attention. It no longer needs to shout through your anxieties or pull at your sleeves through your mistakes. It can finally lie down and rest, knowing that it is no longer in exile. You are bringing the fragments of your soul back together, one breath at a time. The hunger has turned into a deep, settling quiet. You are entering the stage of the night where the I and the me begin to merge. There is no more hunger, only the fullness of being. You are the meal and the guest, you are the darkness and the light. The basement door is open, and the house is finally at peace. As you drift into the depths of sleep, know that you are carrying your whole self with you, not just the polished parts, but the raw, the wild, and the beautiful dark. You are safe. You are fed. You are whole. In the theater of the world, we are all actors. From the moment we step out of our doors, we begin the subtle work of adjusting our posture, our tone, and our smiles to meet the invisible requirements of the social mask. This mask, the persona, is the interface between the individual and society. It is the diplomat that negotiates our survival. But there is a quiet tragedy that occurs when the actor forgets they are wearing a mask. We begin to mistake the social role for the soul. We become the manager, the parent, or the caregiver so completely that we lose touch with the secret heart that beats underneath. Tonight, as you lie in the stillness, we are going to gently peel back the edges of that mask. We are going to look at the heart that has been beating in the dark, waiting to be felt. The secret heart is the place where your true feelings reside, the ones that are too raw or too honest for the dinner table. It is the place where your unproductive dreams live. Society rewards the persona for being predictable and useful, but the heart is neither. The heart is a wild thing, it is capable of ancient griefs and inexplicable joys that the persona could never explain. When you feel a sudden, hollow ache in the middle of a busy day, it is often your secret heart reminding you of its existence. It is the part of you that refuses to be summarized by a job title or a social status. As you breathe, give that secret heart permission to speak, even if it speaks without words. We fear that if we reveal our secret heart, we will be rejected. We think the social mask is our only protection against the judgment of others. And so, we cultivate a curated life, showing only the parts of ourselves that are polished and correct. But this creates a profound loneliness. When people love your persona, you feel like a fraud, because you know they haven't seen the secret heart. True connection only happens when two shadows meet, when the masks are lowered and the hidden parts are allowed to breathe. Tonight, realize that your flaws and your secrets are actually your most human features. They are the bridges that connect you to the rest of humanity. Jung observed that a persona that is too rigid leads to a flat life. When the mask becomes the master, the personality loses its color and its vitality. You become a walking ghost, performing the motions of a life you don't actually inhabit. But the shadow, the secret heart, is where the color lives. It is the source of your passion, your humor, and your unique perspective. By acknowledging the difference between your social mask and your secret heart tonight, you are beginning to invite color back into your world. You are admitting that you are a multifaceted jewel, not a flat surface. You are complex, and in that complexity, there is a deep, quiet beauty. Let the demands of your social life fade into the distance. Think of the people you have tried so hard to please today. See them now as distant lights on a far-off shore. You are here, in the safety of the dark, and you owe them nothing. You don't have to be good, you don't have to be right, and you don't have to be enough. You only have to be. In this sanctuary of the night, the secret heart can finally relax its guard. It can expand, filling the space that the mask has vacated. Feel the relief of being unseen by the world, so that you may finally be seen by yourself. As you move closer to sleep, the boundary between the mask and the heart begins to dissolve entirely. You are entering the state of individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are, rather than who you were told to be. The mask is being laid on the nightstand, and the heart is taking over the rhythm of your body. You are a whole being again, unified and deep. There is a profound security in this state. When you are no longer hiding from yourself, there is nothing left to fear. You are sinking into a rest that is honest, a sleep that is earned not by effort, but by authenticity. The secret heart is now the only light in the room. It is a soft, steady glow that warms you from the inside out. It tells you that you are safe to let go of the day. The play has ended, the theater is quiet, and the actor is finally at rest. You are carrying your secrets into the dream world, where they will be transformed into the gold of insight. Trust the darkness to hold your heart. Trust the night to protect your truth. You are whole, you are real, and you are finally, deeply home. Our relationships are perhaps the most vivid theaters for the shadow's performance. We do not walk into a room alone, we bring with us a hidden entourage of everything we have refused to face in ourselves. When we fall in love, or when we fall into conflict, we are often reacting to the shadows we have cast upon the other person. Jung noted that the meaning of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. But often, the reaction we feel is not to the person standing before us, but to a part of our own soul that they have inadvertently triggered. Tonight, as you lie in the quiet, we reflect on the people who populate your world and the secret mirrors they hold up to your heart. Consider the hooks of your relationships, those specific traits in a partner, a friend, or a parent that provoke an intense emotional response. Why does their silence feel like a threat? Why does their success feel like a critique? These reactions are the fingerprints of your shadow. You are not seeing them clearly, you are seeing them through the lens of your own repressed history. When we are unconscious of our shadow, we treat our loved ones as screens for our own internal movies. We blame them for the darkness we carry, and we demand they provide the light we are afraid to find within ourselves. In the stillness of this hour, we begin to retract those projections, allowing the people we love to finally be free of our expectations. In every relationship, there is a third entity, the relational shadow. This is the sum of everything the two people agree not to talk about, the shared secrets, the avoided truths, and the compromises that go unmentioned to keep the peace. While this silence may feel like safety, it acts as a slow-growing wall between souls. To truly love another is to be brave enough to meet their shadow with your own. It is to move past a persona-to-persona interaction and enter a deeper, more honest dialogue. As you relax, imagine the walls you have built in your relationships beginning to turn into mist. You are realizing that intimacy is not found in perfection, but in the shared recognition of our common humanity. We often seek out partners who carry the traits we have repressed. If you have suppressed your own wildness, you may be drawn to someone chaotic. If you have suppressed your own authority, you may be drawn to someone controlling. This is the psyche's attempt at wholeness. It tries to find out there what it lacks in here. But this leads to a cycle of dependence and resentment. Jung's path of integration suggests that we must reclaim these traits. We must find our own wildness and our own authorities so that we can love the other person for who they are, rather than for the psychological function they serve for us. Think of a recent conflict, a moment where you felt misunderstood or judged. Instead of rehearsing your defense, look at the shadow of the argument. What was the unsaid need? What was the hidden fear? By looking at the shadow of the interaction, you find the truth that the words were trying to hide. As you breathe slowly, send a quiet wave of compassion toward those you are in relationship with. They, too, are carrying a shadow. They, too, are struggling with masks and projections. In the dark, we are all just travelers trying to find our way home through a forest of reflections. The more you integrate your own shadow, the more room you have for others. You become less reactive, more patient, and more deeply present. You no longer need them to be perfect to justify your own existence. You can see their flaws without being threatened by them, and you can show your own vulnerabilities without shame. This is the foundation of true companionship. You are moving from a state of psychological entanglement to a state of conscious relation. The ghosts of the past are being laid to rest, and the space between you and the world is becoming clear, sacred, and still. As sleep approaches, let all the faces of your life fade into a soft, warm blur. You are withdrawing from the world of otherness and returning to the unity of your own being. The lessons of your relationships are being stored in the deep archives of the unconscious, transforming from friction into wisdom. You are safe in your solitude. You are whole in your silence. The night is a bridge between the you that is connected to everyone and the you that is connected to the all. Sleep in the peace of an open heart, and let the shadows of your relationships turn into the dreams of your integration. Deep within the psyche, below the structured floors of the persona, lies a vast and winding labyrinth. This is the dwelling place of our emotions, the raw, unfiltered currents that move beneath the surface of our lives. We often treat our emotions like whether to be endured or obstacles to be cleared, but Jung saw them as the very language of the soul. When we feel a sudden surge of anger, a hollow pit of dread, or a wave of inexplicable grief, we are standing at the entrance of this maze. We avoid these depths because we fear getting lost, yet it is only by walking these winding paths that we find the parts of ourselves we have left behind. Tonight, as your body settles into the earth, we step into the labyrinth, not to escape it, but to listen to its echoes. In the labyrinth, we encounter the forbidden emotions, the ones our social conditioning taught us to fear. Anger is often the first sentinel at the gate. We are taught that anger is bad, but repressed anger does not disappear. It turns into a slow-acting poison of resentment or a heavy blanket of depression. Within the shadow, anger is simply a guardian of boundaries, a fire that tells you where you have been violated or where you have betrayed yourself. As you breathe, allow the heat of any lingering anger to be felt without judgment. You don't need to act on it. Just acknowledge its presence. It is a flickering torch in the dark, showing you where you need to stand your ground. Moving deeper into the maze, the air becomes cooler, and we find the chambers of grief and envy. Envy is a difficult emotion to own, for it reveals our deepest sense of lack. We project it outward as criticism, yet in the shadow, envy is a compass. It points directly to your unlived potential. It shows you exactly what your soul is hungering for. Grief, too, is an inhabitant of these halls, not just grief for those we have lost, but grief for the versions of ourselves we never allowed to be. These emotions are the heavy stones of the labyrinth. Instead of trying to carry them, sit with them. Let them tell you their stories. They are the weight that gives your life its gravity and depth. The overthinking mind tries to solve emotions as if they were math problems. It asks, why do I feel this? And how can I stop it? But the labyrinth does not respond to logic. It responds to presence. Jung believed that an emotion only becomes negative when it is denied a place in our conscious life. When we stop asking why and start asking where does this fear sit in my chest? Where does this sadness rest in my throat? The emotion begins to move. It ceases to be a wall and becomes a doorway. By feeling the raw texture of your internal world tonight, you are turning the monsters of the labyrinth into your guides. There is a profound stillness at the center of the labyrinth. This is the place of equanimity, the ability to hold the most intense emotions without being consumed by them. As you drift towards sleep, imagine yourself reaching this center. The walls of the maze are still there, the emotions are still present, but you are no longer running. You are the space in which the anger burns, the grief flows, and the joy dances. You are the vessel, and the vessel is always larger than its contents. Feel the immense capacity of your own heart to contain the totality of the human experience. You are not your emotions, you are the one who feels them. The labyrinth is not a prison, it is a womb. It is the place where the fragmented pieces of your personality are held until they are ready to be reborn. As your conscious thoughts begin to dissolve into the rhythmic pull of sleep, the paths of the labyrinth begin to soften and blur. The stone turns to mist. The maze becomes a cloud. You are no longer navigating, you are floating. You have faced the sentinels of the dark and found that they were only aspects of your own vitality, waiting for a name. You are carrying the wisdom of your emotions into the dream world, where the logical and the felt will finally become one. The journey through the labyrinth of the day is over. You have walked the winding paths of your own heart and returned to the sanctuary of the breath. The shadows have spoken, and you have listened with a quiet mind. Now, the labyrinth closes its doors, and the temple of sleep opens its gates. You are safe to lose yourself in the darkness, for you have found the center. Let the last lingering feelings turn into the soft static of the universe. You are whole. You are deep. You are at rest. We often define our goodness by what we refuse to do. We build a fortress of morality, a set of principles that tell us who we are and, more importantly, who we are not. We say, I am not a person who hates, or I am not a person who seeks revenge. But Jung cautioned that the more one-sided our morality becomes, the more the shadow grows in its dark opposition. Morality, in its rigid form, acts as a spotlight, and the brighter the light of our virtue, the deeper the darkness cast behind it. Tonight, as you rest in the sanctuary of the night, we look at the mirror of your morality. We ask if your goodness is a choice born of wholeness, or a shield used to hide the parts of yourself you have deemed unforgivable. True morality, according to Jung, is not the absence of darkness, but the conscious integration of it. A person who is incapable of harm is not virtuous, they are merely harmless. Real virtue exists when a person knows exactly what they are capable of, the capacity for anger, for greed, for deception, and chooses a different path. This is the difference between a blind innocence and conscious goodness. As you relax your body, consider the traits you find most immoral in others. Often, these are the very impulses that lie dormant in your own shadow, shackled by your fear of judgment. By acknowledging these impulses tonight, you are not becoming a bad person, you are becoming a powerful one. You are reclaiming the strength that was hidden behind the wall of being nice. Consider the concept of the golden shadow. Sometimes, our morality prevents us from being too successful, too beautiful, or too prominent, because we have labeled these things as arrogance or vanity. We hide our light to stay moral and humble, but this is a form of self-betrayal. We use morality as a cage for our own greatness. In the silence of this hour, feel the edges of your own moral cage. Where have you held yourself back to avoid being judged by an internal jury? The night does not judge you. The stars do not ask if you are perfect today. They only ask that you exist in your totality. When we deny our capacity for evil, we inadvertently give it more power. The most dangerous people are often those who believe they are purely good, for they can justify any cruelty in the name of their righteousness. But when you admit, I have the capacity for darkness within me, that darkness loses its ability to control you. You become the master of your own house. You no longer need to be perfect to be worthy of love or rest. Tonight, give yourself permission to be a complex, multifaceted human being. You are allowed to have thoughts that don't fit your brand. You are allowed to be more than your list of virtues. As you drift closer to the threshold of sleep, imagine your moral compass softening. It is no longer a needle pointing to a rigid north of perfection, but a pulse of light radiating from your center. This light accepts your mistakes as lessons and your impulses as energy. There is a profound mercy in the dark. It covers the world and levels the playing field. In the eyes of the night, there are no saints and no sinners, only tired souls returning to the source. Let go of the need to justify your existence. You are enough, not because of what you did right, but because of your courage to be whole. The great integration begins when we realize that our darkness is the soil in which our light grows. Without the mud, there is no lotus. Without the shadow, there is no depth or character. By accepting your capacity for wrong, you find a deeper, more authentic right. You are becoming a person of substance, someone who can stand in the storm because they have already faced the storm within. The weight of your moral armor is falling away, leaving you light, fluid, and free. You are moving beyond the world of good versus evil and into the world of self. Sleep is the great equalizer. It is the place where the moral self and the shadow self lie down together in the same bed. In the realm of dreams, the walls of judgment are dissolved. You are returning to a state of primal innocence, a place before good and bad were even words. Trust the night to wash away the stains of your self-criticism. Trust the silence to heal the fractures in your soul. You are whole, you are human, and you are deeply, safely at rest. We have spent time observing the shadow from a distance, peering into the basement and acknowledging the stranger in the room. But there comes a point where observation must turn into movement. Integration is not a singular event, it is a slow, rhythmic process of reconciliation. It is the art of inviting the exiled parts of your soul to sit by the hearth of your conscious mind. Jung believed that individuation, the journey toward becoming your true, undivided self, begins the moment you stop trying to cure your shadow and start trying to integrate it. Tonight, as you feel the slow pull of sleep, imagine your heart as a welcoming home with the door left slightly ajar. You are no longer defending a fortress, you are hosting a reunion. To integrate is to take the energy out of the shadow and place it into the service of the self. Imagine a river that has been dammed up for years, the water behind the wall is stagnant and dangerous. Integration is the act of creating a channel, allowing that water to flow again, turning the stagnant pressure into a current that can move a mill or nourish a field. The anger you suppress becomes the backbone of your integrity. The sadness you avoided becomes the depth of your empathy. You are not losing your goodness, you are giving it teeth and weight. You are moving from being a person who is nice to a person who is real. Integration requires a shift in language. Instead of saying, "I am ashamed of this part of me," we begin to say, "This part of me has a message." We move from judgment to curiosity. As you lie in the stillness, think of a trait you usually hide. Now, imagine asking that trait, "What is your purpose?" Perhaps your fear is trying to protect you. Perhaps your vanity is a distorted cry for self-worth. When we approach our shadows with curiosity, the monsters begin to shed their frightening masks. They are revealed to be clumsy, wounded, or misunderstood aspects of your own vitality. In the light of your attention, they begin to soften. This process is not about becoming perfect. Integration is about becoming whole, which means accepting your limitations as much as your strengths. It is the realization that you are a garden, and a garden needs both the sun and the soil. The soil is dark, damp, and hidden, but it is where the life begins. By integrating your shadow, you are planting your feet firmly in the earth. You are becoming a person of substance, someone who cannot be easily knocked over by the opinions of others, because you already know everything they could possibly say about you. You have already said it to yourself, and you have stayed for the answer. As your breath slows, imagine a golden thread weaving through the various parts of your life. This thread connects your public successes with your private failures. It connects your moments of kindness with your moments of selfishness. See the thread pulling these fragments together into a single, beautiful tapestry. You no longer need to keep the pieces in separate boxes. You are the weaver, and you are the weave. The tension of trying to hold it all together is replaced by the ease of simply being it all. You are relaxing into the complexity of your own soul. The path to integration leads to a profound sense of self-reliance. When you are no longer at war with your shadow, you have more energy available for your life. The leaks in your psychic container are being sealed. You feel a new kind of quiet strength rising from your core, a strength that doesn't need to shout or prove itself. It is the strength of the mountain, which doesn't ask permission to exist. As you drift toward the dream world, realize that you are carrying a more complete version of yourself into the dark. You are more you tonight than you have ever been. The reunion is reaching its quiet peak. The guests have arrived, the fire is low, and the house of your soul is unified. The distinction between light and shadow is fading into a warm, ambient glow. You are sinking into a sleep that is not an escape, but a celebration of your wholeness. The night is a cradle for the integrated self. Trust the silence to weave the final connections. You are safe. You are one. You are home. We have reached a midpoint in our journey, the threshold where the work of integration begins to manifest as a new state of being. Jung called this individuation. It is the process by which a person becomes a psychological individual, a separate, indivisible unity or whole. Up until now, you may have felt like a collection of parts, a persona for work, a shadow for the night, a heart for your loved ones. But as you lie here, the gravity of individuation is pulling these fragments toward a single center. It is the birth of the true self. Not the self you invented to survive, but the self that was destined to grow from the very moment of your birth. You are moving from the scattered edges of your life to the solid, unshakable middle. Individuation is like the work of a sculptor. At the beginning of life, we are a raw block of stone. Society, parents, and teachers chip away at us to make us fit into a certain mold. But the true self is the figure already hidden inside the marble. The work of the second half of life is not to add more to ourselves, but to strip away the excess, the false beliefs, the borrowed masks, and the fears of judgment, until the unique shape of our soul is revealed. As you relax your muscles, imagine the unnecessary parts of your personality falling away like dust. You are not losing yourself, you are finally finding out who has been standing there all along. To individuate is to find your own internal authority. Most of us spend our lives looking outward for permission, looking to the mirror of the other to see if we are doing well, if we are good enough, if we belong. But the individuated person has found a compass within. This doesn't mean you become isolated or cold, it means you become centered. You no longer need the world to tell you who you are, because you have done the difficult work of meeting your own darkness and reclaiming your own light. Feel that center of gravity in your chest now. It is heavy, warm, and constant. It is the part of you that remains still while the world turns. Jung observed that the self is the union of opposites. It is the point where the masculine and the feminine, the rational and the irrational, the light and the shadow meet and find a common language. This is why the individuated person often feels like a paradox. You can be strong and soft, serious and playful, grounded and visionary. You are no longer trying to be one thing, you are allowing yourself to be the whole thing. In this silence, notice the paradoxical nature of your own soul. You are a tiny speck in a vast universe, and yet, the entire universe is being perceived through the lens of your unique consciousness. You are both the drop and the ocean. Individuation is the path of the soul. It is a lonely path at times, for no one else can do this work for you. No one else can face your shadow or integrate your history. But it is also the most rewarding path, for it leads to a sense of peace that the world cannot give and the world cannot take away. As you drift towards sleep, realize that your life has a direction. You are not just drifting through time, you are unfolding. Like a seed that knows exactly how to become a tree, your psyche knows exactly how to become the self. Trust the process. Trust the timing of your own growth. The true self is not a destination you reach and then stop, it is a way of living in harmony with your own nature. It is the ability to say I am and mean it with every fiber of your being. As the boundaries of your waking mind soften, feel the immense relief of this arrival. You have stopped running. You have stopped performing. You have returned to the center of the labyrinth and found not a monster, but a mirror. You are becoming the person you were always meant to be. The night is the womb for this new birth. The great work of the day is done. The self is now the steward of your sleep. You are carrying your wholeness into the dream world, where the architecture of your new life will be designed. You are safe. You are unified. You are one. Let the silence be the blanket that tucks you in. Let the darkness be the soil that nourishes your soul. You are no longer many, you are finally, beautifully, one. Sleep in the center of your own being. In the ancient art of alchemy, the most critical stage was the nigredo, the blackening. It was a period of darkness, decay, and dissolution, where the raw materials were broken down into a prima materia. Carl Jung saw this as a perfect metaphor for the human psyche. We often view our periods of depression, confusion, or shadow work as failures, but they are the necessary blackening of the soul. Without this descent into the dark, the lead of our ego can never be transformed into the gold of wisdom. Tonight, as you lie in the stillness, realize that your struggles are not obstacles to your growth, they are the very laboratory in which your transformation is taking place. Transformation requires heat. In the psyche, this heat is the tension of opposites. It is the friction between who you are and who you are becoming, between the persona you project and the shadow you hide. We often try to escape this tension, seeking comfort or distraction, but the alchemist knows that the tension must be held. By staying with your discomfort tonight, by simply breathing into the weight of your own existence, you are stoking the inner fire. You are allowing the impurity of your repressed fears to be burned away, leaving behind the refined essence of your true character. Pain is a raw material. When we are unconscious, we simply suffer. But when we bring the light of the shadow to our pain, we begin the process of sublimation. We ask, what is this suffering trying to teach me? A deep sense of loneliness can be transformed into the gold of self-sufficiency. A history of trauma can be forged into the steel of resilience. You are not a victim of your past, you are the alchemist of it. As you drift closer to sleep, imagine taking the heaviest part of your life, the part you most want to change, and placing it into the transformative fire of your own awareness. The alchemical process is slow. It cannot be rushed by the ego's desire for quick results. It happens in the quiet, in the undoing of the night. Jung observed that the most profound changes often occur when we think nothing is happening at all. Like a seed breaking open in the dark soil, your old self is dissolving so that a more expansive version of you can emerge. You don't need to do the alchemy tonight, you only need to be the vessel. Let your body be the crucible. Let your breath be the bellows. Trust the intelligence of your own evolution. As the nigredo gives way to the albedo, or the whitening, a sense of clarity begins to emerge. You start to see the patterns of your life from a higher perspective. You realize that even your darkest moments were essential coordinates on the map of your individuation. The shadow self you avoided was actually holding the key to your liberation. Feel the lightness that comes with this realization. The lead of your anxiety is becoming the gold of presence. You are no longer carrying your history, you are standing upon it. The alchemy of the night is turning your weariness into a deep, restorative power. In the dream world, your subconscious will continue this work, rearranging the symbols of your life into a new, more harmonious architecture. You are moving from a state of fragmentation to a state of quintessence, the fifth element, the unified soul. The fire has done its work. The vessel is cool. The gold is forming. You are entering the most sacred stage of the process, the great rest. The laboratory is quiet. The fire is a mere glow of embers. You have survived the blackening and found the treasure hidden in the dark. The shadow is no longer a stranger, but the very substance of your wisdom. As you surrender to sleep, know that you are a masterpiece in progress. You are safe in the hands of the great alchemist, the self. Sleep in the warmth of your own transformation. Sleep in the gold. Deep within the unconscious, beyond the initial layers of the shadow, there dwell figures of immense age and clarity. Jung called one of these the wise old man, an archetype of the inherent wisdom we all carry, yet so rarely consult. This is not a person outside of you, but a personification of the knowing that exists in your marrow. When you are lost in the fog of overthinking, you are trying to navigate with the flickering candle of the ego. But tonight, we are going to walk further back into the mountain of the mind, to the quiet cave where the guide sits by a permanent fire. This guide has seen every storm you have weathered. They know the path because they are the path. We often think we are alone in our decision-making, carrying the full weight of our future on our tired shoulders. But Jung suggested that the psyche is objective, it has its own intelligence that functions independently of our conscious will. The hidden guide is that voice that speaks in the moments when you finally stop talking to yourself. It is the intuition that bypasses logic. As you relax your jaw and let your shoulders sink into the bed, imagine you are handing over your maps and your compasses to this inner elder. You don't need to figure it out tonight. There is a part of you that already knows. The guide often speaks in the language of the shadow. Why? Because the shadow holds the truths we were too polite or too scared to hear. The wise old man does not speak in platitudes, he speaks in the raw reality of what is. He represents the inner truth that has no need for a persona. In the stillness, ask a question to the darkness. Don't look for an answer in words. Look for a feeling of rightness, a sudden settling in your stomach, or a shift in the quality of the silence. This is the guide tapping on the floor of your consciousness, letting you know they are there. Accessing inner wisdom requires the death of the know-it-all. We must become like children at the feet of the unconscious. The overthinking mind is loud because it is insecure, the inner guide is quiet because it is certain. Tonight, let the loud one go to sleep. Imagine the frantic thoughts of your day as a group of travelers who have finally found an inn. They are laying down their packs and falling silent. Now that the room is quiet, the voice of the mountain can be heard. It is a low, resonant frequency that vibrates through your very cells, telling you, all is as it should be. This guide is the bridge between your personal history and the collective experience of humanity. When you tap into this wisdom, you realize that your struggles are not just yours, they are the ancient struggles of the human soul. You are tapping into a reservoir of resilience that is millions of years old. You are not just you lying in this bed, you are the latest expression of an eternal process. Feel the relief of this scale. Your problems, which felt so mountain-sized an hour ago, are now just pebbles in the hands of the wise one. As you drift closer to the dream state, the guide is preparing the symbols you will need for your journey. Dreams are the messages sent from the wise old man to the ego. They are the letters from home that tell you where you are going and what you need to pack. Tonight, trust that your subconscious is a master storyteller. You don't need to stay awake to listen, the story will be told directly to your soul while you sleep. The guide is taking the watch. You are relieved of your duties. The fire in the cave is dimming to a warm glow of embers. The wise one is silent now, leaning back into the shadows. The mountain is still. You are wrapped in the protection of ancient wisdom. There is no more searching, no more questioning. The guide is with you, and the path is clear, even in the dark. Fall into the deep, knowing silence. Sleep in the arms of the truth. Night has a way of stripping us of our pretenses. During the day, we are distracted by the movement of the world, but in the darkness, the external theater falls away, leaving us with the mirror of the night. This mirror does not show your physical face, it shows the contours of your internal landscape. For the overthinker, this can be a daunting prospect. It is the time when the shadow seems most present, standing at the foot of the bed or whispering from the corner of the room. But Jung reminds us that the darkness is not an enemy to be conquered, it is a mirror to be looked into with courage. Tonight, we are going to stop turning away from the reflection. We are going to look into the dark and see not a monster, but the truth of our own depth. In the mirror of the night, we see the unfiltered self. Without the light of social validation or the noise of productivity, we are faced with our rawest thoughts. We see our insecurities, our unfinished business, and the parts of our past we haven't yet forgiven. We often call this insomnia or anxiety, but it is actually a moment of profound psychological potential. The shadow is stepping forward into the moonlight of your awareness, asking to be seen. As you lie still, notice how the darkness feels against your skin. It is cool, heavy, and vast. It is the womb of the universe. Within this space, there is nothing that can harm you, only things that can inform you. We fear the dark because we associate it with the unknown, and we associate the unknown with danger. But the unknown is also the source of everything new, every creative idea, every solution to a problem, every moment of growth. By facing the darkness without fear tonight, you are opening a channel to your own genius. You are telling your subconscious that you are a safe container for its messages. The scary shapes you see in the mirror of the night are often just your own strengths disguised by your fear of them. Let the tension in your chest melt. You are not looking into a pit, you are looking into a well of wisdom. Jung taught that the shadow is the door to our reality. If we only live in the light, we live in a two-dimensional world. We become flat, predictable, and fragile. It is the integration of the night, the acceptance of our capacity for doubt, for sadness, and for mystery that gives us three-dimensional weight. As you breathe, imagine the darkness of the room flowing into you, not as a poison, but as an ink that gives your life its color and its shadow. You are becoming a person of substance. You are becoming someone who can walk through the night of the soul without losing their way, because you carry the light within you. There is a specific kind of peace that only comes after we stop fighting the dark. It is the peace of surrender. You are no longer trying to turn on the lights or find the exit. You are allowing the night to be exactly what it is. In this state of non-resistance, the mirror of the night changes. It stops showing you what you fear and begins to show you what you are. You see that you are part of the vast, quiet cycle of the cosmos. You see that your breath is the same breath as the wind in the trees. You see that you are home. As you drift closer to the edge of sleep, the mirror begins to dissolve. The distinction between the watcher and the reflected is disappearing. You are merging with the darkness. You are the night, you are the mirror, and you are the star. There is no more need to look, because there is no more separation. This is the ultimate relaxation, the realization that there is nowhere to go and nothing to fix. You are a perfect expression of the universe, exactly as you are, in this moment of shadows and starlight. The mirror is gone. The night is full. You are safe to close your eyes and fall into the deep, dark dream of the self. The shadows have finished their dance, and the silence has taken over. There is only the rhythm of the heart in the vast, supportive dark. You have looked into the mirror and found the infinite. Sleep in the peace of that discovery. Sleep in the heart of the night. Deep within the shadow lies more than just our personal mistakes. There lies the primitive heart of our species. Civilized life has required us to build walls around our instincts, to prune our wildness until we fit into the neat, square boxes of modern existence. We have traded our intuition for logic and our raw vitality for a quiet, measured safety. But in the middle of the night, when the city is silent and the masks are off, you might hear a distant, rhythmic drumming in your blood. It is the call of the wild. It is the part of your shadow that remembers the forest, the hunt, and the ancient fire. Tonight, as you lie in the stillness, we are not going to suppress that wildness. We are going to acknowledge it as the source of your truest strength. We often confuse instinct with impulse, but they are not the same. Impulse is a reaction of the ego, instinct is the wisdom of the body. Jung observed that many of our modern anxieties stem from being disconnected from the roots. We live in our heads, treating our bodies like mere vehicles for our thoughts. But your shadow knows that your body is a temple of ancient intelligence. Your gut feelings, your sudden surges of energy, and your primal need for connection are the voices of the wild self. As you breathe deeply, feel the life moving in your limbs. Feel the animal stillness of your own frame. You are a creature of the earth, as much as you are a creature of the mind. The wild shadow is the source of our passion. When we repress our instincts, we become gray. We lose our appetite for life, our sense of humor, and our creative fire. We become over-civilized, correct, but cold. To reclaim the wild self is to invite color back into the soul. It is to say yes to the parts of you that are untamed, irrational, and fierce. You do not need to act like an animal in the world, but you must acknowledge the animal within. By giving this wildness a place in your heart tonight, you are fueling your courage. You are realizing that you have the strength of the mountains and the endurance of the tides. Think of the times you have silenced your intuition to be polite or rational. Each time you did so, a part of your wild self retreated into the shadows. But tonight, there is no need to be polite. There is no one to appease. You are alone with the ancient night. Imagine the domesticated self, the one who follows all the rules, taking a rest. In its place, let the instinctual self stand guard. It is alert, grounded, and unafraid. It knows how to protect you. It knows how to lead you through the dark. You are safe because you are finally listening to the guardian you were born with. As your body becomes heavier, feel the boundary between yourself and the natural world beginning to dissolve. You are not separate from the trees, the wind, or the dark water. You are made of the same stardust and the same ancient carbon. The call of the wild is simply the call to be natural. To breathe naturally. To rest naturally. To exist without the constant supervision of the overthinking mind. Let the rhythm of your heart become the drumbeat of the forest. You are sinking back into the great, supportive web of life. The wild self does not overthink. It does not worry about tomorrow's schedule or yesterday's conversation. It lives in the eternal now. By tapping into this part of your shadow, you find the ultimate relief from the chatter of the ego. The woods are quiet. The air is cool. The night is vast. You are an animal in its burrow, safe and warm, while the stars rule overhead. There is a deep, primal security in this realization. You belong to the earth, and the earth knows how to take care of its own. The drumming in the blood is slowed to a peaceful, steady pulse. The wild self is at rest, its eyes closed, its breath deep. You have reclaimed your roots. You have honored the animal heart. Now, the forest of the unconscious is still, and the path to sleep is wide and welcoming. You are carrying the raw power of the wild into the dreaming lands, where you will run without effort and see without eyes. Trust your instincts. Trust the night. Sleep in the heart of the wild. The ego is the small island of I in the vast ocean of the unconscious. Its primary job is survival, and its primary tool is control. We overthink because the ego believes that if it can just map every wave and anticipate every storm, it can keep the island safe. But tonight, we recognize the shadow of the ego, the exhaustion that comes from the illusion of being in charge. As you lie in the dark, you may feel the phantom weight of this control, a tension in your forehead as if you are still trying to hold the world together. But look at the stars, they move without your help. The tides turn without your permission. Tonight, we are going to let the island of the ego submerge, just for a while, into the cool, supportive depths of the great sea. Control is a form of fear disguised as responsibility. We believe that if we stop worrying, something terrible will happen. But you can observe that the most profound moments of our lives, birth, love, inspiration, are things we cannot control. They are things that happen to us. The ego's shadow is the realization that our plans are small and the universe is large. In this stillness, practice the art of non-doing. You are not a manager of your life tonight. You are a witness to it. Feel the muscles in your face soften as you resign from the position of universal director. The world will rotate without your effort. You are free to simply exist. When we let go of control, we meet the shadow of our vulnerability. This is the part of us that feels small and fragile in the face of the infinite. We avoid this feeling by overscheduling and overanalyzing, but vulnerability is the doorway to the soul. It is only when we admit we don't have all the answers that the answers can finally find us. As you breathe, allow yourself to be unknowing. It is a sacred state. You don't need to know what next month looks like, or even tomorrow morning. You only need to know the rhythm of this one breath, and then the next. The shadow of the ego also contains our unlived potential, the versions of ourselves we suppressed because they were too risky or didn't fit our controlled image. When you stop trying to control who you should be, you create space for who you could be. Tonight, imagine your life as a river. For years, you have tried to build dams and dikes to force the water where you think it should go. Imagine those walls crumbling now. The water finds its own path, carving its way through the landscape with an effortless, ancient intelligence. Your life knows where it is going. You are just the passenger. There is a profound relief in being unimportant. The ego wants to be the center of the drama, the hero of the story, the one responsible for the outcome. But the shadow knows that you are also just a part of the scenery, a leaf on a tree, a grain of sand on the beach. In this vastness, your mistakes are microscopic. Your failures are invisible. This is not a dismissal of your value, but a liberation from your pressure. You are held by a web of life so complex that your only duty is to be present. The ego can finally close its eyes. The all has taken over. As you move into the deeper stages of relaxation, the ego's grip becomes a memory. You are entering the self, which is the totality of everything you are, the conscious and the unconscious, the controller and the controlled. In this state, there is no work to be done. You are sinking into the mattress not as a person with a name and a history, but as a pulse of awareness. The silence is not empty, it is full of the peace that remains when the need for control is gone. You are safe. You are drifting. You are surrendered. The ego has fallen asleep at its post, and nothing has gone wrong. The breath continues. The heart beats. The night protects. You have returned to the source, where the need to know is replaced by the grace of being. Carry this surrender into your dreams. Let the unconscious show you landscapes where you don't need a map. You are no longer the captain of the ship, you are the ocean itself. Sleep in the infinite. Sleep in the let go. In the final stages of the journey toward wholeness, we encounter the mysterium conjunctionis, the sacred marriage of opposites within the soul. Throughout your day, your mind is a battlefield of dualities, success versus failure, strength versus weakness, the light of your persona versus the dark of your shadow. We have been taught to choose a side, to cling to the positive and exile the negative. But Jung observed that life is held together by the tension between these poles. Without the night, we cannot see the stars. Without the valley, the mountain has no height. Tonight, as you lie in the quiet, we stop the war between the two halves of your heart. We invite them to sit together in the center of your being, realizing they are but two sides of the same coin. Think of the paradoxes that make you human. You are capable of immense tenderness and cold detachment. You are a seeker of truth and a keeper of secrets. Often, we feel fragmented by these contradictions, as if we are a house divided against itself. But integration is the realization that these opposites do not cancel each other out, they complete each other. The no gives meaning to your yes. Your capacity for sorrow is the very vessel that holds your capacity for joy. As you breathe, imagine these opposing forces in your body, the inhale and the exhale, working in perfect, silent cooperation. You are the space where the opposites meet and find peace. In the silence of the night, the rigid boundaries of the ego begin to soften. We often struggle because we try to be only light or only rational. This creates a psychological gravity that eventually pulls us down. But when we accept our inner darkness, our irrationality, our mystery, our depth, we become balanced. We find a center of gravity that is unshakable. Imagine yourself as a great tree. Your branches reach for the blinding light of the sun, but your roots dive deep into the cold, dark, silent earth. One cannot exist without the other. You are the bridge between the heavens and the underworld. Let go of the need to be consistent. The overthinking mind demands that you be one thing or the other, but the soul is a vast ocean that contains all tides. Tonight, honor the inner feminine and the inner masculine, the anima and the animus. Honor your need for action and your need for rest. Honor your wisdom and your holy ignorance. When the opposites are united, the friction of life turns into a hum of energy. You are no longer fighting yourself, you are flowing with yourself. Feel the relief of this internal truce. The conflict is over. The union has begun. As you drift towards sleep, imagine a point of light in the center of your chest. This is the still point, the place where all opposites are resolved. In this point, there is no past or future, no good or bad, no self or other. There is only a pure, radiant presence. With every breath, this point expands, filling your body, your room, and the night itself. You are becoming the third way, the consciousness that is larger than any duality. You are the observer who watches the dance of light and shadow without being disturbed by either. You are the peace that surpasses understanding. The heavy lifting of the psyche is finished for the night. The two halves of your soul have reached an agreement. The shadow is no longer a predator, and the ego is no longer a prisoner. They are partners now, walking together into the dream world. You are entering the state of unus mundus, the one world, where the inner and the outer, the dark and the light, are seen as a single, beautiful tapestry. There is a deep, resonant security in this wholeness. You are not a fragment, you are a universe. The union is complete. The night has swallowed the edges of your struggle, leaving only the soft, unified pulse of your being. You are carrying this internal balance into the depths of sleep. Your dreams will be the playground for your newly integrated self, weaving the gold and the lead into a crown of wisdom. Trust the darkness to hold your light. Trust the light to honor your darkness. You are whole. You are balanced. You are one. Sleep in the heart of the union. As you hover on the edge of the subconscious, you are approaching the border of a land that speaks in a forgotten tongue. Jung believed that dreams are the royal road to the unconscious, not mere static from the day, but deliberate, symbolic messages from the self. While the waking mind speaks in words and logic, the dreaming mind speaks in the ancient language of the image. It is a theater where the shadow is the lead actor, often appearing in disguises to show you what you have missed. Tonight, as you feel the pull of sleep, imagine yourself as a traveler standing at the gates of a great, dark library. You are not going there to solve puzzles, you are going there to experience the truth of your own soul in its rawest form. In the dream world, the laws of the persona do not apply. Gravity is optional, time is fluid, and the impossible is routine. This is the place where the shadow can finally move freely. When you dream of being chased, it is often your own vitality trying to catch up with you. When you dream of being lost, it is the psyche's way of breaking your old maps so you can find a truer path. As you sink deeper into the mattress, let go of the need for making sense. Your dreams are not meant to be analyzed by the intellect, they are meant to be felt by the heart. Trust that your mind knows how to heal itself through these nightly stories. Think of a recurring image from your past dreams, a house with extra rooms, a deep ocean, a mountain peak. These are the inner landscapes where your integration takes place. The extra room is the potential you haven't used, the ocean is the vastness of your unconscious. Tonight, set the intention to be a peaceful observer in your own theater. You are the dreamer, the dream, and the one who wakes. There is a profound safety in knowing that even your most confusing dreams are working on your behalf, untangling the knots of your day while you rest. The dream is the counterweight to your waking life. If you have been too rigid, the dream will bring you chaos. If you have been too fearful, the dream will bring you power. It is the psyche's way of maintaining the balance, the homeostasis of the soul. By honoring your dreams, you are honoring the shadow's right to speak. You are acknowledging that the self is much larger than I who pays the bills and follows the schedule. In the silence, feel your consciousness expanding to fill the room, preparing to dive into the deep, symbolic waters of the night. As you drift, the language of logic is fading away. The why is being replaced by the is. You are entering a state where you don't need to translate the symbols, you only need to experience them. The wise old man, the shadow, and the anima are preparing the stage. They are the directors of your nightly healing. Imagine them as benevolent guides, weaving a tapestry of images that will replenish your spirit. You are being held by the wisdom of the collective human experience, dreaming the same dreams that have guided our species for thousands of years. The transition is almost complete. The physical world is a distant hum, and the inner world is becoming vivid and real. This is the liminal space, the threshold between worlds. Here, the shadow is no longer a source of anxiety, but a source of wonder. It is the ink that writes the poetry of your sleep. Feel the profound relaxation that comes with giving up the waking self. You are becoming the dream. You are flowing into the landscape of the infinite. The theater doors are closing. The lights are dimming. The story is beginning. You have given your shadow permission to speak and yourself permission to lead. Sleep now, and let the wisdom of the dream wash over you. There is nothing to fear in the language of the night. You are the architect of this inner realm, and you are returning to your creation. Fall into the deep, symbolic quiet. Sleep in the wisdom of the dark. In our pursuit of a meaningful life, we often become architects of our own imprisonment. We construct a moral self, a rigid framework of right and wrong, of shoulds and musts, and we stand guard over it with a heavy heart. But beneath the feet of the moralist, a shadow is cast. Jung observed that the more we strive for a forced, outer perfection, the more we develop a shadow of the moralist, a hidden part of us that feels judgmental, superior, or deeply resentful of the very rules we claim to love. Tonight, as the world's expectations fade into the night, we are stepping beyond the binary of good and bad. We are looking for a morality that is not a cage, but a reflection of the soul's true nature. Think of the energy you have spent trying to be beyond reproach. The constant monitoring of your thoughts, the suppression of dark impulses, the quiet shame of not being as virtuous as you pretend to be. This is the weight of the moralist's armor. It is a heavy, cold metal that prevents you from touching the world with your bare skin. But in this stillness, you are allowed to be imperfect. You are allowed to be human. True integrity does not come from following a list of rules, it comes from the honest recognition of your own complexity. As you breathe, feel the straps of that armor loosening. You are not a project to be fixed, you are a mystery to be lived. The shadow of the moralist often manifests as righteous indignation, the intense anger we feel toward those who break the rules we work so hard to keep. When we see someone being selfish or lazy and it triggers a deep irritation, we are often seeing our own repressed desires looking back at us. We hate in others what we have forbidden in ourselves. Tonight, let that indignation melt into understanding. By accepting your own capacity for laziness, for selfishness, and for error, you become a person of true compassion. You are no longer standing on a pedestal, you are standing on the earth, side by side with all of humanity. Jung famously said, "I would rather be whole than good." This is a radical invitation to stop the performance. To be whole is to admit that you contain the saint and the sinner, the coward and the hero. When you stop trying to be only good, you find that your natural goodness, your inherent capacity for love and empathy, has room to breathe. It is no longer a duty, it is a flow. As you drift towards sleep, imagine your moral judgments as heavy stones you have been carrying in a backpack. One by one, lay them down on the dark ground. Feel the lightness of your shoulders. Feel the freedom of being unjudged by your own mind. There is a morality of the heart that is deeper than the morality of the mind. It is a sense of rightness that comes from being in harmony with your own nature. This harmony requires you to honor your shadow. It requires you to listen to your anger, to acknowledge your greed, and to sit with your fear. When these parts are heard, they no longer need to act out. They become integrated. You move from a state of imposed virtue to a state of inner grace. In this grace, there is no conflict. There is only the quiet, steady pulse of a soul that has found its center. As you move into the deeper realms of rest, the world of right and wrong is dissolving. You are entering the great silence, where the categories of the intellect do not exist. In the eyes of the universe, you are neither a success nor a failure, you are simply a manifestation of life. This is the ultimate mercy. You are safe to let go of your self-criticism. You are safe to be exactly as you are. The night does not demand an account of your deeds, it only offers you its vast, unconditional peace. The moralist has laid down his gavel. The jury has gone home. The courtroom of your mind is quiet and dark. You are returning to the state of original innocence, the place before judgment began. Carry this freedom into your dreams. Let your unconscious show you a world where you are whole, where you are loved, and where you are free. You are not good, you are not bad, you are. And that is more than enough. Sleep in the heart of grace. Our journey through the labyrinth is coming to its natural conclusion. We have walked past the masks of the persona, faced the hungers of the shadow, and listened to the whispers of the inner guide. Now, we arrive at the source, what Jung called the self with a capital S. This is the center and the circumference of your entire being. It is the eternal part of you that existed before your name was given to you, and it will remain when the story of your life is complete. As you lie here, feel the boundaries of your individual ego beginning to soften. You are returning to the great, undifferentiated sea of consciousness. The search is over. You are not arriving at a new place, you are finally remembering where you have always been. Wholeness is not a state of perfection, but a state of completeness. It is the realization that everything you have ever felt, done, or feared has been a necessary part of the pattern. Like a master weaver standing back from the loom, you can now see that the dark threads were just as important as the bright ones, they provided the contrast that allowed the design to be seen. In this state of wholeness, there is no more self-improvement. There is only self-recognition. You are the witness to your own unfolding. Feel the immense relief in this surrender. You are a masterpiece that has finally stopped trying to paint itself. The eternal self is the silent watcher within you. It is the part of you that has been present through every stage of your life, the child, the teenager, the adult. While your body changes and your thoughts shift like the wind, the watcher remains the same. It is the steady, unchanging awareness that holds all of your experiences. Tonight, shift your identity from the one who is thinking to the one who is aware. Feel the stillness of this observer. It is as deep as the ocean and as vast as the night sky. In this space, there is no anxiety, no regret, and no fear, only the quiet joy of being. As you drift closer to the deep waters of sleep, imagine your life's narrative dissolving into the great silence. The names of your enemies, the dates of your achievements, the weight of your worries, they are all becoming distant and indistinct. You are entering the time before time. In this sacred space, the shadow and the light have finally merged into a single, radiant substance. You are the alchemist who has successfully turned the lead of your life into the gold of the spirit. There is nothing left to solve. There is nothing left to prove. You are simply home. Jung observed that the goal of the human soul is to become what it always was. This is the paradox of individuation. You have traveled through the darkest corners of your psyche only to find the light you started with. But this light is different now. It is seasoned, wise, and integrated. It is a light that knows the dark and is no longer afraid of it. As your breath becomes a slow, rhythmic tide, feel this integrated light warming your core. It is the inner sun that shines even in the middle of the night. You are safe. You are complete. You are eternal. The transition to sleep is now effortless. You are not falling into the dark, you are being embraced by it. The night is a gentle mother, holding you in the womb of the universe. In this state of total trust, the I disappears. There is only the breathing, the heartbeat, and the vast, supportive silence of the all. You have integrated your shadow, and in doing so, you have unlocked the door to the infinite. You are carrying the peace of the source into your dreams, where you will rest in the arms of the eternal. The return is complete. The circle has closed. You are the traveler who has come home to find that the home was within you all along. The shadow is at peace. The ego is at rest. The self is awake. Sleep now in the heart of the source. Let the silence be your guide, and the darkness be your sanctuary. You are whole. You are one. You are. We have reached the final threshold of our journey. The night is at its deepest, the hour where the old self has fully dissolved and the new, integrated self begins its quiet formation in the womb of sleep. Jung believed that the process of individuation never truly ends. It is a spiral that brings us back to ourselves, deeper and more refined each time. You are no longer the same person who began this reflection. You have looked into the abyss and found that it was not empty, but filled with the raw materials of your own soul. As you drift in this final, sacred space, feel the profound quiet that comes when there is no longer a civil war within. The shadow and the light are holding hands in the dark. In a few hours, the sun will rise, and you will return to the world of the persona, the world of schedules and social expectations. But you will carry something different with you tomorrow. You will carry a secret center. Because you have faced your shadow, you will no longer be its puppet. Because you have acknowledged your darkness, you will have a more authentic relationship with your light. Imagine yourself walking through your day tomorrow, not as a mask trying to please, but as a mountain rooted in your own depths, unshakable and calm. You are returning to life, but you are bringing the wisdom of the night with you. Integrative living is the art of being in the world but not of it. It means you can play the social roles required of you, but you never lose sight of the eternal stranger within. When you feel anger, you will see it as a messenger. When you feel fear, you will see it as a guardian. You are no longer afraid of the unacceptable parts of yourself, because you know they are the soil of your vitality. As your body sinks into its final, deepest rest, feel the strength that comes from this honesty. Wholeness is the only true armor. It is the only shield that never breaks. Consider the transformation of your overthinking. The mind that was once a prison of what-ifs has become a temple of what-is. By giving the shadow a seat at the table, you have silenced the internal shouting. The energy you used to spend on repression is now available for creativity, for love, and for presence. You are a vessel that has been emptied of its ghosts and filled with its truth. In this stillness, feel the capacity of your own heart. It is large enough to contain the universe. It is deep enough to hold the night. The journey of Carl Jung was a journey toward the great Amen, the final acceptance of the totality of existence. To say yes to the light and yes to the dark. To say yes to the joy and yes to the grief. As you move into the dream world, you are saying yes to yourself. You are accepting the contract of your own life. You are the architect, the stone, and the builder. You are the shadow on the wall and the light that casts it. Everything is integrated. Everything is one. The stars are beginning to fade in the distance of your mind, and the deep, restorative currents of sleep are taking over. You are safe to let go of this narration. You are safe to let go of these thoughts. The work is done. The integration is complete. The self is in charge now. You are drifting into a sleep that will heal you at the cellular level, weaving the insights of this night into the fabric of your soul. You are a whole being, resting in a whole universe. Good night, traveler. The labyrinth is behind you. The source is within you. The dawn will find you renewed, but for now, there is only the beautiful, sacred dark. You have met your shadow, and you have found a friend. You have met yourself, and you have found a God. Sleep in the peace of the unified soul. Sleep in the heart of the all.